Hi, my name is Brian from Denmark, your tech friend, and this is a comparison between the Moto G, 5G Plus, and the Samsung S10. It could also be the S10 Plus version. They only differ by 0.3 inches and a secondary selfie cam. The reason why I want to talk to you about these two phones is that they are still relevant here in the end of October 2021, and they're still relevant because they promised Android 12 on both of these devices, and after that you can typically expect 2 years of security patches. And these phones are both great choices. I can give them my wholeheartedly recommendation. Don't you press that stop button now. I will elaborate. Okay, but let's just start off with a quick look at the physics of these phones. You can see the camera setup is a bit different, and also the button setup is somewhat different. On the Moto, you have a side-mounted fingerprint authentication, where the authentication on the Samsung is in the screen. Then you have the volume up and down up here. It's kind of a reach actually. On the other side, you have the SIM card tray and Google Assistant button. A quick look at the top, and you got a mic. And a quick look at the button, and you got a speaker, and you got the USB-C, and you got the 3.5mm jack. And that's actually one little sad thing about this phone, is it's only got a mono firing speaker. On the top of the Samsung, you have the SIM card tray and a mic on one side. On the left side, you got a power and a volume up down. On the other side, you got that Google, the Bixby button, sorry. And at the button, you got a 3.5mm jack, USB-C, and not a mono-firing speaker, but a stereo-firing speaker, because the other speakers at the very top, and of course the last one, the little knob there with the mic. You got this triple back camera setup also, where you got a standard main camera, an ultra-wide, and a macro camera. On the front, you have one selfie cam right up there at the top. By the way, I just forgot to tell you about that. The Moto has a very cool feature. Let me just show you. Okay, look at the very top up there, and then you can actually switch. It changes the ring around what lens you're actually using, and you have a wide and you have a more narrow field for the selfie cam. The Samsung's camera setup is as follows: 12 megapixel main, 16 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel telephoto, okay? Then on the front you got a selfie camera of 10 megapixels. All the cameras on this phone are great. And the camera setup of the Moto, they got a 48 megapixel main shooter, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. That's the fourth lens you can see right there. And of course a blitz. And the selfie cameras are 16 megapixel normal and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. As I said at the start, I'm not gonna go too much into the specs. Let me just show you right off the bat that this is a premium high-end phone, the Samsung, okay? And it will run circles around the Moto. Let there be no doubt about that. But when that is said, had I not been a phone reviewer, had I not been like completely nerdy enthusiast with mobile phones running in and out of my house all the time, I would have lived happily with this, the Moto G 5G Plus, for at least, actually 2 years on from now, plus it's already been out in the stores for 1 year. So that could easily have been my 3-year phone, and I would have lived happily with this. And I think it's very much down to the fact that it's got that Snapdragon CPU, the Snapdragon 765 5G version. It's really surprisingly snappy. Let me just show you. They are very, very decent and not far off the Samsungs actually. So this will make you happy, and this is what I call fast enough if we're counting in 2021 standards. The thing I like about this phone is that it actually speaks to me. My hand just loves the form factor, the width and the height. Also I like it. I like the color. I like the fingerprint authentication on the side. I like the double tap feature on the button to activate your favorites. There's the double slash to activate the light. There's the quick turn to activate the camera. All those sorts of antics and those great features I really like about this phone. I like a phone that's a bit fun and still, you know, delivers. Of course, there's the attentive display that's with all Motorola's. If it's just on the table and you walk by it, it's like for some reason it knows you're there and then lights up. I love that. Okay, just a few minuses on this phone. The cameras, though, there's a lot of them. They're really average, but they're okay. You won't be like totally unhappy with this phone. And also the screen itself doesn't get too light. This is as light as it gets, and you can see actually it manages to kind of wash out my pictures. I just put it into so it gets, I would say, light enough, but if you live in a very light place, the screen will not be super light. And that's though it's a 60 Hz refresh screen rate, and it also has a PPI of 409. This phone is such an easy recommendation, just as it is. And if you're considering the jump, like say you got an old S10, you consider jump to this one, you should do it. Because the only culprit on this phone is, of course, as you would know, the battery life. And then you get better battery life, but everything else on the Samsung is better. And that leaves me to my second point, the Samsung Galaxy S10. Look at this cover. You know why I've got this sweet cover with it, with this kickstand? Because this is my daily driver. I have also in my possession Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the Samsung S10 is still my daily driver. Of course, that's something to do with size. You know, these phones are very much bigger and very much heavier, but also it delivers. If you're thinking, this is the Exynos version, we're talking the Samsung and the Exynos versions. If you thought to yourself, I have bought the S20 Exynos Samsung version, then it would have been, I would say, even poorer than this version, the S10. And if you compare it to the Samsung S21, pluses and minuses added together, I would call it a draw with the S10. This is how good the S10 is. So, well, the S21, it beats it at selfie camera single shot pictures. And that's about it, of course, speed. But then again, they always like turn down the power to not make it overheat the Exynos 2100 chip, right? This is my daily driver. This is my church. Blah, blah, blah. So just to recap, had I not been a telephone enthusiast, I would have happily lived with this phone. And as a telephone enthusiast, I still pack this phone. I don't think I would pack it more than 3 months, half a year yet, because when the S22 is coming, hopefully with the Snapdragon, we'll definitely switch this one, or just with one of all the other phones I've got lying around. So this is flying on its last, you know, updates. I will probably keep it to the Android 12 just to see how it is on this Samsung S10 and give you some feedback on this. But these two phones are brilliant phones and brilliant buys. I recommend them wholeheartedly. My name is Brian from Denmark, your tech friend, and I'll see you in the next one.